Hey guys, it's Erin here and welcome to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I stay organized in online college, kind of just giving my tips and tricks in terms of my planning and also taking notes and things like that. Okay, so I brought my stuff here so we can get down to business. But anyways, one thing I also was going to mention is that this was my first time doing any type of online learning, and so there was a lot of adjusting and it took me a while to fully find the best things that work for me personally. Obviously it might not work best for everyone, but I thought I would share in case it helps somebody out. Another thing that I was going to mention, I used to always be a paper and a pen, or I guess paper and pencil type of gal, and so I always wrote my notes even in class. Like the first 2 years of university, I would barely ever bring my laptop to class and I would only write notes. But I'm also trying to be a little bit more sustainable, and writing on a bunch of paper is definitely not super sustainable, and so that was one of the reasons. And the other one was just with online learning, it's actually easier to get organized on your computer and online, and so I wanted to kind of make that shift. But like I said before, it was kind of hard, especially trying out all these new platforms and trying to get used to it. Also, along with using a notebook, I also used a paper agenda to write down everything that I had to do and help plan. I personally really liked it because I was the type of person who had all those really colorful Muji pens, and I loved color coding things and stuff like that. I also did bullet journaling, but I also realized that that took up a lot of time, especially bullet journaling, because you had to make the spreads, and I felt like I was spending too much time on making the spreads as opposed to getting work done. And so I definitely still like bullet journaling, and I like how you can be creative with it and stuff like that. But when it comes to school, I kind of need to just get to it, because I used to be really bad with procrastinating. I'm still somewhat of a procrastinator, but I've definitely gotten a little bit better. Anyways, so I have 4 different platforms / softwares, whatever you like to call it, that I like to use. So I'm going to be showing those to you guys and also kind of showing you how I use it, how to set it up, and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and finally get started. The number one is Google Calendar, and for some reason this took me forever to try to learn to use. It's a pretty simple platform, but to get what I wanted from it, it wasn't really possible in a sense. For me, honestly, when I was looking up best planners to use, Google Calendar came up as one of the top things, and so what I really wanted to get from it was a really nice color coordinated blocked out schedule. And I know you can do blocking, there's so many videos on how to do that, but to do the type of blocking that I wanted to do, I don't even know how to explain it, but I tried. Maybe there is a way, but I watched so many tutorials and I could not get what I wanted. But then it kind of made me realize that I was spending all this time trying to make my Google Calendar look pretty, that once again I was kind of procrastinating on my schoolwork and more focusing on making things look pretty, kind of like what I was doing with the bullet journal. And so I kind of just decided to use Google Calendar for the most basic use ever. So with Google Calendar, one of my favorite things is that it actually connects to the Apple Calendar. And oh wait, I forgot to screen record. What am I doing? So one thing that I really like about Google Calendar is it also connects with the Apple Calendar, and it also connects with my Microsoft Teams, which is what I use for my school. And so I find that very convenient because I get notifications for things on my laptop, which makes it just easier to remember, oh yeah, this is due tomorrow, this is due whenever. So usually when I open my laptop, I would get some kind of notification every morning, just kind of what is due that specific day, if I have any meetings that day. And I find that really easy just to glance at, make sure that I know that what I have to get done today gets done and things like that. And so I turned on my notifications, I think. I honestly don't really remember. Let me go on to my system preferences. So yeah, if you go to your system preferences and then go to your notifications, under the calendar one, you can allow notifications. And so I usually like to do alerts, so it stays on my screen until I close them, just because if it's a banner, sometimes it goes too fast for me. And so I like to actually look through them and then cancel it once I have seen them. them, and I find that really useful, especially at the beginning of the day. So it's kind of like a to-do list in a sense. But yeah, I love that you can connect your Google Calendar to your Apple Calendar, and also it's also connected on my phone as well. So if I'm in bed, for example, and I want to check like, oh, what do I have tomorrow, I can just go onto my Apple Calendar on my phone, and then it just shows me what I have, which is very convenient. So we love that. But usually I do like to look at it on my computer just because I do most of my work on my computer, so it's just easy access. So here you'll just see my calendar at a glance, and this is kind of what I mean by it doesn't really look very pretty. I tried to pick like nicer colors and like make it nicely coordinated, but then what ended up happening is like some of the things are like, I think it's when it's an assignment or something, or when it's an all-day thing, it's like a full color, versus if it's an event, then it's like a little circle, and that really bothered me because I wanted them all to be like the full block colored thing because it would look nicer. But yeah, so that was one of the biggest frustrations for me when I first started using Google Calendar, and I wanted it to look nice. But I've just learned to kind of, you know what, it's fine. It doesn't have to look super pretty. I honestly don't really look at my Google Calendar that much. I guess this is specifically good for events. So if I have like team meetings, classes, any sorority stuff too, I get like notifications whenever that's gonna happen. And so I have my notifications set, so then 15 minutes before a meeting or a class, it will go off and just like remind me that it's there. So here's what my Google Calendar actually looks like on the actual Google Calendar website. I honestly don't really go on this that much because I only go on it if I have to input something in. But usually if it's like a meeting, it will just automatically go in if you schedule it through either Google Meet or Microsoft Teams. And then also I had like pre-put in all of my like tests and things like that from the syllabuses that I got earlier in the year. And so all of that is pretty much set in stone. And so I literally barely ever go onto this actual thing to input more in. Reminders, this is another thing I didn't like. I wanted to have like more set in stone reminders, but you couldn't have reminders for each classes. Like it would just be a like full list of reminders. You couldn't organize that, and I also did not really like that. So in terms of actually using Google Calendar, it's pretty simple to use. You just go ahead and click the day that you wanted to add something to. For example, if I wanted to add film video today, and then you can go ahead and add a time if you wanted to do it for a specific time frame, but usually I just do a task as all day unless there's a specific time frame, obviously. And then if you go down here and click on like your name here, I had made these subcategories, and so we just click YouTube, and then that's pretty much it, and very easy to use. So moving on to the second platform that I use. This is my personal favorite, and I tried out so many different ones. And so what I use is something called My Study Life. So anyways, this is just kind of what it looks like from my dashboard. So we have up here the date, and then I have 2 classes today, which I actually don't have 2 classes because they ended up being asynchronous, but I was supposed to have 2 classes. So it kind of just tells you like when your class is, and then it shows tomorrow I have 4 classes, 1 thing due, 0 exams. And then here we have the tasks. So we have always what they do is like the tasks that are due tomorrow, or also if I had anything due today, that would be like the top priority, and then they have the other things that are due this week. So very simple, and I really like how this is laid out. Anyways, that's the dashboard. If you go to this one, this is your calendar. And so the reason I don't use this as like an actual calendar and planner is because you can't put like tasks in a calendar, if that makes sense. Like this calendar is specifically for a school schedule. Kind of annoying, and that's also why I use Google Calendar. But in terms of like the actual checking it off and like getting tasks done, I think this is really good. So the next thing we have is tasks, and this, I'm literally on this page every single day. So the way that it works is we have what's due tomorrow, due this week, and it's in order of when it's due. And so due next week, due later this month, due in April. And so these are all of the things that I have to do in the rest of this semester. So anyways, when you click on an assignment, so this one is my marketing assignment, and so what I really like is you can go in and you can like put how much percent complete it is. I don't always do this, honestly, just on like the days that I need more motivation, because I like to check things off so then I like feel accomplished. And so on days that I need to feel more accomplished, I'll go ahead and like do that. But for example, I'm like almost done this, or like honestly we're 90% done. We just have to like, this is a group assignment, so we just have to put everything together. And then also once you actually complete it, it will just cross it off. It will still actually show up, it just crosses it off, showing that it's done. Pretty much the extent of that. But if you are like me and like to check things off, definitely recommend. Obviously free, everything I'm using is free because we always like to save money. I just realized I filmed a whole part and I wasn't even screen recording my computer. We love that. So let's take two. Anyways, the third program that I use is Google Sheets, and this is more for a me thing because I personally really like to know my grades and I like to calculate my grades, and usually I have it in like a notebook and like I'll actually calculate it, but this year I just decided to use Google Sheets because it's way easier to do. And so I thought I would show you guys kind of my template and how I kind of use it. So this is just an example of the template that I use. So this is for my entrepreneurship class. And so at the top here we have assignment, and so we have Sky Lessons, which are like our quizzes, and then we also have an entrepreneurship story, which is kind of like our midterm assignment, and then this is our final assignment. And so the breakdown is more so just for the quizzes because I have 10 different quizzes. I was just breaking it each down, so we'd have a mark for each one. And so here is where you would put your mark, and then we have the weighting of each thing, which I've pre-put in, and then we would put the total that you would get for that assignment there. So for example, let's just say 90%, and then for the total we would just do the equal sign, click on the mark, and then multiply it by the weight. Pretty simple. And so essentially I would just pull this down, so then for the calculations you would literally just put in the number and then it would automatically calculate it. And so my current grade, I would put the sum of the weight that I currently have, which is 20%, and then I would also do the sum of the marks that I already have. What did I just do? Oops. Which would be 17, and voila, that is my grade. So now moving on to the last platform, which is Microsoft OneNote, and this has become one of my favorite things for taking notes. I personally really like it. I actually did use it a little bit last year for some of my classes, but at that time I was still kind of writing most of my notes, and I will say for some classes I do still write notes in a notebook. For example, econ, because there's a lot of formulas and graphs, it's easier to write it down or to draw it than to try to do it on a computer. But for all my other classes, I like to use Microsoft OneNote. One thing I really like about Microsoft OneNote is that if you have like an iPad or a tablet, you can also download the app on there and then it just syncs automatically. So last year I actually liked OneNote because I was using it for, I think it was my econ class, and I was actually doing notes like in my iPad and writing it down. Anyways, this is what my Microsoft OneNote looks like. So I have my notebooks for this year. So for example, with entrepreneurship, we have chapter 1, and then my subheading is just the chapter. So I wrote all of my notes for chapter 1, same with chapter 2. It's very easy to write notes. Like there's not really much I can like go over here, but actually classics is a good one because I have to do like a lot of specific things for my classics class. So for example, we have my lecture here, so this is just what the lecture notes look like, and then I have my books. So this week we're reading the Odyssey, and so I was just like making notes on each chapter, and then we have to do something called hypothesis commentary, and so I had put my questions, my knowledge, interest, like all that stuff that I needed to write down. But yeah, so essentially it's super easy. You just like add a section, rename a section, say I was doing chapter 8, enter that in, add the title. So yeah, you just can click anywhere and honestly start typing anywhere. I usually like to have everything aligned. You can also add to-do lists, which is a cool thing, but I don't really do. Yeah, so here there's like a bunch of different things you can do and add to make your thing more customizable, but I honestly just use it for writing notes. So really simple, really easy. And yeah, I think my favorite thing though is just like having everything together. And before, I used to do it in Microsoft Word and like write my notes in a Word document or in Google Drive, because usually what I would do is like a document for each chapter, notes, and so I'd have all these documents and I just kind of clutter up my computer or my computer like documents section. And so I like OneNote just because you can have everything here very organized. Okay, so that is pretty much it for how I keep organized with online school and just like the different things that I use. Hopefully this video was somewhat helpful and you can somewhat implement any of these things into your schedule and just be a lot more organized for online learning. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!